Picture this, your computer suddenly freezes, your phone won't turn on, or your TV just won't connect to your Wi-Fi. Sounds familiar, right? We've all been there wrestling with tech issues that seem to pop up at the most inconvenient times. In this digital age, we rely heavily on technology for nearly everything. When something goes wrong, it can be disruptive, even daunting. But here's the good news. Most common tech issues are solvable with a bit of know-how and a dash of patience. This video is your roadmap to understanding and resolving the tech troubles you're likely to encounter. We'll walk you through the basic troubleshooting steps, then dive deeper into advanced techniques for those trickier problems. Think of it as your personal guide to becoming proficient in tech support, right from the comfort of your home. So, are you ready to become your own tech support? Let the journey begin. Before picking up that phone to call tech support, stop. A solution might be just a few steps away. You see, in the world of tech, understanding the problem is akin to knowing your enemy. It's the first and most crucial step in solving any tech-related issue. Imagine a doctor prescribing medication without diagnosing the illness first. Doesn't sound so effective, does it? It's the same with tech problems. To solve them efficiently, we first need to understand them thoroughly. Now, you might be thinking, I'm not tech-savvy, how am I supposed to understand these complex tech issues? Well, the good news is you don't need to be an expert. You just need to be a bit of a detective. Let's start with the basics. If a device isn't working as expected, consider the classic turn it off and on again approach. You'd be surprised how many issues this simple step can resolve. It's like giving your device a quick nap, allowing it to refresh and reset. Next, check all the connections. Are all cables plugged in correctly? Is the Wi-Fi signal strong enough? Sometimes the issue can be as simple as a loose cable or a weak internet connection. Then, pay attention to any error messages or signs your device might be showing. These messages are your device's way of communicating with you, of telling you what's wrong. For example, a slow computer might mean you have too many programs running at once, or perhaps your hard drive is nearly full. An error message when trying to open a file might indicate that the file is corrupt, or that the software needed to open it isn't installed on your device. In short, observe, analyze, and then act. This methodical approach can save you a lot of time and frustration. And remember, Google is your friend. If you can't figure out what's wrong, search the error message or the problem online. Chances are, someone else has faced the same issue and found a solution. Remember, understanding the problem is half the solution. So, before you rush to call tech support, take a moment. Breathe. Understand. You've got this. Now that we have a grasp on the problem, it's time to get our hands dirty. Let's walk through some of the most basic troubleshooting steps. These are the first steps you should take when encountering a tech issue, and often they can quickly resolve the problem. First up, we have a simple yet effective solution: restarting your device. Yes, it may seem trivial, but you'd be surprised at how many problems can be solved by a simple reboot. This is because restarting your device can clear out any temporary glitches or bugs that may be causing the problem. Next, let's talk about software updates. It's easy to ignore those little reminders to update your software, isn't it? But here's the thing. These updates often come with fixes for known issues. So, if you're experiencing a problem, it's always worth checking if there's an update available. If there is, download and install it. Who knows? The solution to your problem might just be an update away. Now let's move on to clearing cache. Cache is a type of temporary storage that your device uses to speed up processes. However, over time, this cache can become cluttered and cause issues. Clearing it can often help resolve these problems. It's quite simple to do, usually just a few clicks in your device's settings. Lastly, if all else fails, there's the nuclear option: resetting your device. This should be your last resort, as it will delete all your data and settings. But sometimes it's the only way to fix a stubborn problem. Just make sure to back up all your important data before you hit that reset button. Remember, troubleshooting is all about patience and persistence. It's like being a detective, sifting through clues to find the culprit causing your tech woes. Each step gets you closer to the solution. And sometimes even the most daunting of tech problems can have a surprisingly simple fix. Sometimes the simplest of solutions can solve the biggest of problems. If the basic steps didn't do the trick, don't worry. It's time to roll up our sleeves and dive deeper. Now, we're going to delve into some advanced troubleshooting techniques. These are the tools you pull out when the problem is a bit more complex, or when basic troubleshooting hasn't quite hit the mark. But never fear, my friend. With a bit of patience and persistence, you'll be surprised at what you can accomplish. Let's start with booting in safe mode. Safe mode is a diagnostic mode of a computer operating system. It's like the computer's safe space, where it can run without non-essential applications and services. This can be particularly useful when you're dealing with issues that seem to be caused by drivers or software. So how do you boot in safe mode? It varies by operating system, but generally it involves restarting your computer and hitting a specific key during startup. Once you're in safe mode, you can work to isolate the problem. Next up is the factory reset. This is a bit like a sledgehammer approach to troubleshooting. It's not subtle, but it can be effective. A factory reset will restore your device to its original state, as it was fresh out of the box. It's important to note that this should be one of your last resorts, as it will wipe all your personal data and settings. Always make sure you've backed up your important files before going down this route. Now, let's talk about antivirus software. We live in a digital world, and unfortunately that world is filled with potential threats. Viruses, malware, spyware, the list goes on. Antivirus software is your digital bodyguard, protecting your device from these threats. It can scan your system for issues, isolate them, and often fix them. There are many options available, both free and paid. It's a good idea to do your research and choose the one that best suits your needs. Last but not least, don't forget about the power of online forums and communities. There are countless tech enthusiasts out there who love to help solve problems. Websites like Stack Exchange, Reddit and others have vast amounts of information and helpful users. Just remember, when posting about your issue, be as detailed as possible. The more information you provide, the better the assistance you'll receive. To recap, our advanced troubleshooting techniques include booting in safe mode, performing a factory reset, using antivirus software, and seeking help from online communities. Each of these methods can help solve more complex issues when basic troubleshooting isn't enough. With these advanced techniques, even the most stubborn tech issues won't stand a chance. Despite all our best efforts, there are times when a problem just won't budge. When our bevy of troubleshooting techniques falls short, it's not a sign of defeat, but rather the time to call in the cavalry. Professional tech support is there for a reason, to step in when the issues go beyond the ordinary. Imagine a scenario where your device refuses to power on, or your software just won't cooperate, and you've exhausted all the steps we've discussed. It's at this point you should consider seeking professional assistance, or perhaps you're facing a problem that requires you to tinker with the system's internals. If you're feeling uncomfortable or unsure about this, it's perfectly okay to hand over the reins to a professional. Remember, troubleshooting isn't just about fixing issues. It's also about knowing your limits. And knowing when to ask for help is just as important as knowing how to solve a problem. From understanding the problem to seeking professional help, we've covered quite a ground today. We dove into the world of tech issues, shedding light on how to identify the problem at hand. The importance of this step cannot be overstated. It's like a compass, guiding your troubleshooting journey. Next, we discovered the magic of basic troubleshooting steps, the simple yet effective methods that often solve the most common tech hiccups. Restarting the device, checking connections, updating software, these are your first line of defense. When the basic steps don't cut it, we learnt to navigate the complex world of advanced troubleshooting techniques. These are your tools for the trickier issues, requiring a bit more tech savviness but incredibly rewarding once mastered. Lastly, we acknowledge that sometimes it's best to call in the cavalry. Knowing when to seek professional help can save you time, stress, and potential further damage. With the knowledge you've gained today, tackling common tech issues should be a breeze. Remember, every tech whiz started somewhere, and you've just taken your first step.